Carolina operates from Sanford, Florida to Lorton, Virginia. I'm Mike Rossian.
And it's another challenging day for air travel. FlightAware.com says more than 1,300 U.S. flights have been canceled today, mostly because of COVID-related staff shortages. For the third time this week, U.S. troops stationed in Iraq have been targeted for attack. A rocket struck a military base at Baghdad's International Airport. No casualties. More details at townhall.com.
So I invested.
When you're hungry for tender brisket or some delicious homemade cobbler, then look no further than Leech Brothers Barbecue, located at 1106 East Henderson in Cleveland, Texas. Leech Brothers has been family-owned and operated since 1950. Take it from me, Taco Joe Orwinski. Todd and his family have been filling my belly breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a long time. Heck, I even have my own booth, open Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Come see them for dine-in, carry-out, and all your catering needs.
Hey, travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next flight. Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
855-325-1820. 855-325-1820. That's 855-325-1820.
Hey, there's something you forgot to do. It sure is hot. Are you sweating like a dog? Wait, what? Dogs don't sweat. Oh no, you forgot to get your window tinted. Whether it's the kitchen window that sits in the sun for the hottest part of the day, or you just got new wheels, call Sharp Window Tinting in Burleson. 817-615-9379, or look them up on the web, sharpwindowtint.com.
Serving Johnson County, Texas, JoCo Community Radio.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Tiffany Carlin with Business Connections. Glad to be back here on this beautiful Wednesday. Been a while since we've been in the studio. We had a good holiday Christmas break, and well, it just kind of rolls in, and from one week to the next, and you realize, wow, we haven't been live in a while. So welcome. Thanks for joining us. I've got a wonderful friend, a familiar voice here on JoCo Community Radio, the amazing Lisa Keese. Good morning.
Oh, good morning.
With
I'm so excited to be back.
Service First Mortgage here in Burleson, Texas, although you serve all over Johnson County.
I'm Texas.
You're Texas everywhere.
Yes.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. So, I mean, that's a really great point. You're not stuck to just Johnson County or
Local,
the
right.
DFW area.
Yeah.
You can mortgage anyone.
Anywhere in Texas. Yes.
I like that.
I know.
I love it. How are you?
I'm doing great.
It's been a while. If you remember Lisa, she used to have a show on JoCo here. It's been a while, and business is booming and picking up for you, right? So
Yes.
clearly you didn't have time for us anymore, but it's okay because I'm super happy for you.
Well, it was a hard decision because I really enjoyed the topic. I love the people. I love being on the radio, which was so weird because it was never anything that I wanted or thought I would do, but have really enjoyed it. And I appreciate you asking me to come back today, but we're going to talk about a different topic today.
We're going to talk about a completely different topic, and you may become a familiar face again.
I might
here,
yes.
voice
Yes.
here on JoCo Community Radio.
I want to help people for sure.
And so, and it kind of dives into what we're going to talk about today. First of all, for those who don't know, would you please tell people about Service First Mortgage and how you came about opening up this branch? Because you started the branch here, right?
Right. Yes.
So tell us about that.
Well, I've been in the business since I was a junior in high school. Mortgage is really all I've ever done in my life. And I worked for several companies, rotating every couple years, moving, advancing in my career, I guess you could say, moving from position to position, wanting more. And was with a company that was out of Washington, D.C. And we started hearing that our bills weren't being paid. And so started to kind of freak out, you could say, because we had a branch here.
Right.
And I reached out. We were with another company, another branch that was in South Lake. And I'm like, I think we need to be looking for somewhere to go because this is going to, crumble. And he said, oh, well, we'll start now. We have 6 months. I said, I think we only have 30 days.
Oh, wow.
And sure enough, in 30 days, we were notified and we had met with Sean Broussard, who owns Service First Mortgage. He found him. So I don't know how he connected with Sean, but I said, I want to meet him too. And he's like, oh no, I said, oh no, I want to meet him. And so I met Sean, very down to earth. I felt like he was going to be honest, shoot us straight. He said, what's in your pipeline? What can I do? And I said, this is what we got. And we were told they were not going to close any of our refinances. They only close our purchases. So he said, sell me what you can. I mean, he did everything and closed us out. And sure enough, that company folded, even didn't pay us our last.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. It's gone. And I mean, just Sean's integrity, he did what he said. And I'm a big component on somebody that will do what they say, not make excuses, do everything he could. And he did. And some things started happening between this other branch. And he's like, well, we're going to go over here. And I'm like, well, you do your thing. We're staying here. And this month we're celebrating 20 years with Service First Mortgage.
Wow.
Yeah. Terry
This
Goodlow.
is huge.
This is big, especially in the industry. It's
Congratulations.
unheard of. Well, thank you. Terry and I, we call each other work wives because we've been together. I think this summer will be 22 or 23 years.
Wow.
We base it on her son's age because he was 6 months old when
we
we
started working together.
Yes.
That's
He's going to be
crazy.
22 or 23 this summer. So yeah. So we've been Service First together 22 and working together for 22 or 23 years.
So how many branches does Service First have? I mean, they're all over the are they all over the nation, or are they a Texas-based company only?
We're mainly Texas. And the reason I don't really know, 3 years ago, we merged with Sendera Mortgage.
Oh, okay.
And so we were as big in Dallas as they were, or I could say our presence in Dallas was as much as their presence was in the Tarrant County area. And so we kind of, we just like doubled overnight. So
Wow.
I really don't know how many branches because I'm keeping up with my little branch here. So,
Yeah.
but I do know we have 2 in Burleson, and then, they range from, I think, Glen Rose, Aledo, all the way to Plano, Frisco. I don't know, we may not have one in Frisco, but McKinney area. So, I mean, everywhere in between. We have in Austin. We even have one in Arizona. My friend Michael Chalker. We do loans in other states, but as far as actual branches, he's the only branch we have right now that's outside of Texas. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And all of it was started by Broussard?
Sean Broussard.
Wow.
Mhm.
Congratulations, Sean.
Yeah.
I mean, you always love to see, a business that starts out organically and small and just grows and explodes to something amazing like that.
Yes.
And I mean, that speaks volumes of his integrity and work ethic and budgeting, because clearly
Right.
the company you were with didn't budget so well, which is
Correct.
one of the things that we're going to talk about today is budgeting.
Yes.
And so it's just, and then to look
And
where
his faith. I love his faith because we can talk on that level as well. And I know that's not what everybody has in work life. I mean, you almost have to like hide your faith or not put anything out because, you don't want to offend or whatever.
be politically correct.
Right. And that's something we've always had, and we've always been able to talk, and I can have, be still on my wall at work and not feel like I'm offending my company or not
or
or
coworkers even.
coworkers. So yeah,
Which I
so,
don't think anybody. I would hate to think that anybody would ever have to feel that way, but it does happen.
well, don't come in my office.
Yeah, there you go.
Because I mean,
I'm not your mortgage company if
so
that's
I
a
mean,
problem for
yeah.
you. And clearly 20 years, celebrating 20 years, you're not having that many challenges with your client base. So
Yeah, I
congratulations.
know.
So what's in the plans for celebration this month?
I'm not real sure. We get a trip, but that won't be till next year because it's everybody who's reached different levels this year. So um, I'm going on the trip this year, but that's because of production, and we're going to Hilton Head. Um, is it
Oh, you're gonna love it, North
South
Carolina.
North Carolina.
You're gonna love it there.
So, well, yeah. We were going to go somewhere else, but because of COVID, lovely COVID, we decided to stay in country. So, but it's beautiful. I looked it up, and so I've not been there, so that's nice.
It's
And
beautiful. You'll really enjoy it. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful place. So, but nothing planned on the local level. You guys haven't talked about having.
Terry and I might do something because it's our anniversary. But
You have. You got to throw something for the whole office. You got to do something.
We'll do
It's
something.
very
Okay.
deserving.
Okay.
I mean, it really, really is. So, and not to mention, but and no offense, men out there, but it's all women in your office.
It is. We've had one male loan officer. He was with us for about a year and a half. His name was Clint, but he moved off to a different area, so he left the company. But for the most part, it's always been just women in my office.
And it's not that you wouldn't take on
No.
a hardworking man, but I just like to see that as you're a woman run branch, and when you look at your team picture, it's I know almost everyone who's on your team, and I think very highly of all of them. So, and I think very highly of you, obviously, because I nearly tackled you outside
Right.
the old station to get you to come on the radio. And then tied you up. I don't know. The story got more and more.
It got big, yes.
I like to hear your husband talk about it. I think that's what's weird. I think this is one of the first times it's just been me and you.
Yes.
And your husband hasn't been in here
Yes.
because you two have gotten on. You've been a guest on one of the other shows. We weren't on your show, but I believe you guys came on together to talk about budgeting because haven't you taken some finance? I don't know if it was the Dave Ramsey or you've
Right,
got
Crown
this.
Ministry. Yeah, I've taught. We took it once, and then I've taught. I've been part.
You've
of
been teaching it
several years.
So
Yes.
talk about that because I know that has a really good bearing on where you are today because your goal was to get debt free, right? Am I remembering some of this pretty
Yes.
good?
Mhm.
Gosh, and you haven't been in studio in 2.5 years.
Oh no, I think
Was it
just-
before? Was it after? Oh
It
no,
was last year. Yeah.
it was the pandemic was.
Yes, it was.
I was trying
It
to
was
think
mainly
about
'cause
that.
Yeah. So it was. I think it was last summer or May.
Yeah,
of last
it
year,
was.
I think so.
It
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
But I mean, talk about that a little bit because and everybody has a different, course or budgeting course or finance courses that they may have taken. But there's just something about what you and your husband have been a part of that I think has a great bearing on what you've shared on social media, which is where I wrangled you again to come in here and go, we need to talk about this because
Yes.
this is the time. It's a new year, and I think I look at what's going on in the world today.
Mm.
I look at the needs that people have had, at Harvest House and not being able to put food on their table or not be able to have Christmases and, think whatever that is, whatever that looks like for
Right.
someone having a Christmas.
Right.
For some, it's literally just being able to have a ham on the table or
Right.
just something special.
Yeah.
But I look at so many different ways that we can budget smarter and more efficiently to be debt free.
Yes.
And not only be debt free, but to have that nest egg. So
Yes.
talk about what you guys went through.
Well, years ago, I started attending Pathway and went through a similar class. I believe it was either Becky Stringer or Rob Orr taught it or both or something, but it's been years ago, over 20 years ago, and talked on the principle of tithing. And so I remember it was May of 1997 when I wrote my first tithe check. And I was so excited. And I can honestly say I have tithed every single month since that date. And I'm not saying that I may have stuff because I tithe or I don't have certain hardships because I tithe. I don't know, but I just knew that was a principle that I wanted to follow. So when God placed on my heart on a Saturday morning, I do not know the date. It was a Saturday morning. It was kind of that in between sleep and awakeness because it's the only way I kind of get to sleep in and not be anywhere. And he's like, I want you to get out of debt. And I'm like, okay, what does that look like? I had no idea. I didn't even know what to do. Heard about Dave Ramsey things. And I thought, surely. And I remember hearing something about the snowball. So I loved my phone. I had a smartphone at the time and I downloaded a app called, it was a snowball app. And I put all my bills in the snowball app and it said what to do and how long it would take for me to get debt free. We had two in college. I don't know if they were out of college, but they may have been out of college at that time. Coming out of 5-car loan, 5-car payments because we had 3 still at home. We had insurance on all of them, cell phone bill, all this stuff. And my car, and not heavy credit card, but had some credit card debt and everything. And so just wanted to get out of all of that. And so I put everything in the Snowball app. And I think it was 18 months that it said that we would be debt free. And I said, okay, so what can I do in the meantime to also help accelerate that? And he placed on my heart to, for 1 year, say, do I need it or do I want it? Do I need it? Do I want it? And if I wanted it, and if it wasn't a need, it was a want. And then I had to think really hard, can I do without this and still be okay?
Right.
And so for a whole year, I kind of lived that way. And being in commission, it affords me a little different scenario than some people, but I've always lived, I don't even remember not having a budget. So my budget showed how much money was left over after the bills. And so all that money would get thrown at one bill.
To pay it down.
Off.
Completely.
So you start with your lowest, and there's a lot of different theories. Just start with what you owe the least and work your way to what you owe the most, because
I've heard that is the best
victories.
too.
Well, you get victories.
Yeah.
If you start off with the biggest one, you get discouraged because you don't get a victory. But you have a
Like
$300 or $400 credit card, boom, gone. Get rid of the credit card. Don't throw it away. Don't close it. Just put it in the freezer or put it in a safe deposit box for right now. And then do that with and then take that payment and add that to the next payment. And then if you have extra, because your budget should show you if you have an extra 200, 300, 400, 500, even maybe even 1,000, if you're working your budget correctly, that you can throw also at that debt. And so by the time you're done and you may still have $10,000 on that car, you're putting maybe $1,500 a month because you don't have any other payments into that car that you can get paid off in 5 months. And so it builds on itself. And so that way you get out of debt, but then it's learning to live debt free. And so, I drive a really nice car, but no one realizes it's a 2010. I paid it off. I paid cash for it. Had almost 100,000 miles on it. My husband was like, oh, and I'm like, I have 150 on mine now.
Right.
I just need a bigger vehicle because I have more grandkids. We have number 8 on the way. But anyway,
my gosh, congratulations.
So, I had to have room for these for these babies. And so, and we've hauled all kinds of stuff in it, and I don't worry about it because it is what it is, but I love it. And it's my dream car, but who says my dream car had to be brand new off the showroom floor? So we have lived in cash cars since we got out of debt. Maybe even before we got out of debt. I've never had a new car in years.
And don't you have a thing where you buy a car for your
Ooh, that's happening this year too.
Is this the first time?
Yes.
Okay, so I remember you talking about that too. That was a goal for you guys too, to be able to do that for your grandkids. This is the first one.
This is the first
one.
My
gosh.
So it's well, it kind of came out of his first birthday. We were at his first birthday, and he was the first grandbaby on both sides. And I mean, I think he got everything but the car on his first birthday. And I'm thinking, wow, that's a lot of stuff. And next year is going to be all new stuff. And so I said, I'm going to start a savings account. So we started a savings account, And every birthday and every Christmas, we put money in the account, and we might get him a little something. But at the time, the budget was tight. So we gave him like, here's your car, your little your little
Right.
Matchbox car. But we're putting money in as he grew up, and as he, he'd say, every once in a while he'd say, Grammy, how much money do I have in my car account? But we do. We have one for every grandchild.
Every kid, they have their own savings
They
account.
only have their own savings account.
That's awesome.
And I have it in our names with them as beneficiaries, because I didn't want them to turn 16, get a wild hair, and say, I'm going to go just take money out of my account on their own. So it was for the specific purpose. I didn't want to put it in any, it was, a couple hundred 2 times a year. So it wasn't really enough. I felt like that it would grow. So I didn't
Right.
really put it in anything that could lose. I just put it in a savings account. And I knew how much I'd have at the time he turned 16. And so, yeah, he turned 16 in May, and he wants his Poppy's car. So he was eyeballing his Poppy's car the other day. It's so cute. So I'm thinking, okay, well then that's Paul's down payment for another car,
Right.
or add it to the money we have and pay it off or whatever, we do. So it's just kind of funny that, that's what he was wanting, and he's wanted it for a while. So I keep thinking he might change his mind, but he hasn't.
It makes a lot of sense. We've paid cash for all of our cars too. And I get that not everybody is in that financial situation to be able to do that. My only suggestion on that is that if you're not in a financial position to pay off a car or pay cash for a car, consider your budgeting, how much you've budgeted for the vehicle that you really want. Is this the time for it? That would be one of them. And then also,
that's the whole thing with the budget is people don't budget because they feel like it's very restrictive. And all budgeting is planning ahead. You're not paying backwards for something that by the time it's paid off, it's old. You're paying yourself and putting money in different. It depends on what method you want to use. I have an app on my phone. I have an allocation every month I add. So like for Christmas, I budget all year for Christmas.
And what you're going to spend.
I know my budget, what I'm going to spend because we got 4 kids, 4 significant others, now the grandkids, and I know what I'm going to give them. Now we do our stocking. So and we give to the church for the gift to the king. So I know my budget every year set in January, and then I divide that by 12, and every month I get paid, I put part of that aside in my account. I just have it allocated for Christmas 2022, and then I just add to that. So it takes it out of my bottom balance. And so I live on what my balance is, not what my true balance is.
It's probably my worst place in budgeting is Christmas. I don't really set a set goal of, okay, we're going to spend this much on each child, because we'll start with just the 3 kids.
Yeah.
And we always spend the same amount on each one, but we haven't been to, we're like you. We don't, Todd's an attorney, so he may work 5 years on a case before he gets paid on it. So by the time some of these things come around and some of these payouts come, we're in a different situation. And we were in a different situation this year where we were really able to bless all of our family. And so we did that. So there's situations that you have to put into your own situation. You have to look at your own situation and go, okay, some things might fluctuate, but having a general budget is the reason why we can do it.
But you said you spend the same amount on your kids. So if you know what you're going to spend for sure, you can budget that for sure. And then if you're blessed some other way, then you can say, okay, well, we've gotten this extra money in. But that's the beauty of your budget and your focus. Other money comes in. If you are debt free, then that can go outward. But if you're not debt free, you might say, I'm going to put all this into getting debt free, because the first goal is to get debt free. Once you're debt free, and when we say debt free, let's classify that, because people think that differently. Anything you owe, except your house.
Except your house. Okay, I was just going to ask,
Yes.
where in this does the mortgage
Dave Ramsey
fall
and
into
so
it?
does Crown. That's kind of your last thing. Okay.
Okay.
And it may be your thing before you do your college, but that's up to you. There's no set in stone, but debt. Because now people call me and they're like, "Oh, I'm debt free," and all they're telling me is that they don't have any credit cards, but they have car payments, they have SUVs, they have recreational vehicles.
It's still debt.
It's all debt. So anything that's not your primary residence is a debt. Okay. So let's classify that first. So that's what you want to get out of debt.
So it's okay
from.
to get a mortgage from Service First Mortgage. We want to make sure that you guys know that. You've got to have somewhere to live. Because the reality is, if you're not paying off a mortgage, you may be paying rent.
You're building wealth. So
Right.
if you had a mortgage in the last 2 years, your value may have increased over $100,000.
Oh,
to $200,000.
Todd's looked and he got something from Zillow that said, we will guarantee that your home could be sold at such and such amount right now. And we just did a big renovation in my house through the pandemic, COVID, my daughter, near tragedy. We had all this stuff piled on at the same time. And so I looked at him, and he's brought it up multiple times in the past 6 months. And I've gone, that looks really great on paper. However, we will never be able to duplicate what we have right now on another piece of land or on more land like you would like to have under the same. We own this home.
You can sell it, but then you got to buy it. So
and we own this home.
Yeah.
We have no mortgage anymore. This is one of the things that we paid off.
Yeah.
That was one of the things. Todd's been really, really great about taking, on our car payments, the mortgage, everything. He has always paid more than what was owed on it every single month. And that's of course how we got to a place to where we owned our vehicles or were able to pay cash for them and to be done with it. It was a goal. And you could that weight just comes off. Like every month that he's writing a check it was torture.
Yes.
And so it's a blessing to be able to do that. So I've just looked at the house now and go, okay, now how can this house make me money? And so I'm already preparing my home for the future when I don't have any more kids there or when we plan to travel more. And so that's kind of where I told him too. I said, I'd rather not go build something new. Let's just keep changing this and renovating this home to be, it was built in 95, I think 95, 96. And so it's just needed some love and we're giving it love, but we have a whole back of the house that's like a lock off. And so, I've already moved the laundry room back there. It already has another kitchen. And so it still needs some other stuff to it. And I'm going, this is money right here. I'm like, this is becoming a lock off. Yeah. So that's what we're going to do with part of the house at some point and Airbnb it. So it won't be a always thing, but it'll be a sometime thing. And why not? Why not share our home with people when we're traveling or even when we are home? If we're not, you can't use every room in your house. So that is another way to look at it. How can your home become a place that makes you money while you're still living in it, if you have that opportunity? So that's just like it's been one of our goals. So we've got a minute left. So
there's a lot of things that, that's the great thing about having a budget, living on the budget. And then once you're out of debt, that your options are endless at that point. And so that's what people don't understand is that debt and what it's holding you back from on a monthly basis. And so when we come back from break, then we'll go into kind of what the steps we took and the steps that we teach of what to do first. Because everybody's like, well, where do I start? Do I just start throwing all this money? Well, there's some steps that we can take first. And then that way, you're following. And then once you have the plan, you follow the plan. Then when the plan's met, then that's when you can start really dreaming about what's the next.
That's what I really love. You guys really worked the program.
Oh, yes.
All right, stick with us. We'll be back after this quick break here on Business Connections with Lisa Keese, Service First Mortgage. We'll be right back.
Are Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war among the major term life companies. Rates have dropped dramatically in the past 2 years. For example, a man age 45 non-tobacco user, $1 million of coverage is only $75 per month, level for the next 10 years. Or a man age 50 non-tobacco user can buy $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of only $110. Guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. That's right, level rates for 20 years. And if you're a smoker, we have great rates for you as well. At the Term Lifeline, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. So if you're looking for new or replacement term life insurance, call right now for a free quote.
Rates and availability may vary by state. Sample rate quotes are based on preferred non-tobacco underwriting exam required to qualify.
800-803-2142. 800-803-2142. 800-803-2142. That's 800-803-2142.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
Out of deck carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleveland, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleveland, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give them a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered.
JoCo Community Radio. Listen live at tunein.com.
Thought I'd written it and shared it.
Welcome back to the second half of JoCo Business Connections here on JoCo Community Radio. I'm Tiffany Carlin with my wonderful guest Lisa Keese with Service First Mortgage here in Burleson. They're about to celebrate. They are celebrating this month their 20th year in business. Congratulations again. So excited to see what happens for you guys over the next 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Can you think about that? Is
Well,
that in your plan yet?
I don't think I'll be the branch manager for the branch. The branch may still be there, but I don't think I'll be the branch manager.
Well, you're definitely grooming,
So-
and I don't even want to say grooming, mentoring some amazing women who work for you. So I could see several of them becoming that, taking that seat or that role, 20 years
I don't know
from
if anybody
now.
wants it, but
Well,
you
you
never know.
we got to wait and see,
Yeah,
right?
I'm not a good wait and seer. I'll tell you that. So talking about getting out of debt, it's very much a patient thing because I'm like, I want to see it now. I want to do it now. I want results now. But it does. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes sacrifice. So it's definitely something that you kind of have to be in the long haul for, but it's so worth it if you will just take the steps to do it.
If you're just joining us, we are talking about financial goals for 2022, and will your current budget help you achieve those goals? And Lisa's helping us with this. She put up a fantastic post on Facebook that I just grabbed and went, oh, this is something we need to talk about, because people don't talk about budgeting.
They don't.
I think there's so many people out there who are afraid to talk about budgeting because they're afraid to talk about money, because it's just an overwhelming stress when you look at your debt to income ratio, or just
it's not so much
being
that
in
from
debt.
what I hear, it's my money. I don't want a budget telling me what I can do with my money.
That's
And so,
interesting.
Yeah. So it's definitely a control thing, and thinking that this budget's going to control them, control their fun, their experiences, whatever their mind is. It's like a 4-letter word.
Right.
And so it's not really even fear of where do I start with it, which that's another part, but it's really, I don't want this thing telling me what I can do with my money.
That's a really good, there are some good 4-letter words, and one of them is tool. And this is a great budgeting is a tool
Mhm.
that can help you, because if you don't have a budget for it, you don't have you end up having not having enough money for the wants,
Right.
which is part of the budget, by the
Yes,
way.
yes.
And they're still there, but you really, really have to look at. I'm having this conversation right now with my 18-and-a-half-year-old who is saving to move out to get an apartment with one of her friends. And so they've sat down and they've gone through their numbers together. And then, of course, we've sat down with her and gone, okay, do you have this wrapped in there? Do you have this wrapped in there? Do you have this? I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot of little things that I think you might be missing.
Yes.
If you have to go to the doctor,
Yes.
you have to have money for a copay, because when you when you move out and you want to be on your own, there are some things that you are going to be responsible on your own. We're gonna equip her and help her in the ways that we can.
Right.
But we're also of the mindset that if you are an adult now and you want to get out there and be on your own and have that independence, that what comes with that
Right.
is the responsibility of budgeting and figuring that
budget's
out.
And it's not taught in school that I know
It's
of.
not.
And so
Unless you now, there's a class that you can take. It's an elective,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Okay.
There's an elective in high school that they can take. I think you could take it any of the 4 years, and it's actually very helpful. But it shouldn't. That should be a
It
required
should be
math
required,
class.
yes, because everybody's gonna have a paycheck. Everybody's gonna have bills. I mean, even if you don't have any debt that we talk about, you're still gonna have electricity, and you got gas to drive your car. You got maintenance
Yep.
to have your car. I mean, there's so much other things that you still have to have, no matter if you have debt
Right.
or not.
There's
So,
it's basic.
yeah.
It's basic life skills, but it's basic
Yes.
life skills that get you all the way down to: do I have enough gas in my car to get to my job?
Yes.
And so again, it's one of those things that you're talking to an 18-year-old about.
Yeah.
To go, did you budget for
Especially
gas?
if dad fills your tank up every week,
Right. Or you're
Yeah.
driving my car right now.
or whatever the case is. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean,
Don't
so-
empty my tank for me not to have gas to get to work.
correct. Yeah. I'm kind of in that position right now.
Right.
But it's just that idea of, okay, well, I want to move out of Burleson. The goal is to be about 20 minutes from my job. Okay. Do you understand that that's 20 minutes more of gas
Yeah.
that you're going to use in your vehicle? So, I mean, there's so much to that budget, but it shouldn't be overwhelming, because this is a part of life. So what?
Well, the budget thing, if you look at it rather than it controlling you, because not even a lot of kids or even adults, you'll say, "How much money do you have in your bank account?" And they're like, "Oh, well, let me pull it up." And they'll pull up their bank to see what so they're allowing their bank to tell them what they have in their account. Rather than knowing, because the check registers of our day kind of are gone, but there's apps on your phone that work just like it, and then they add and subtract for you, so you don't have to do that. So that's even a great, plus there. So
I do not use my check register anymore. Todd would. It makes him cringe because he uses his.
Well, I use mine on my phone. So if Paul debits,
he's-
and this one, and if Paul debits something, he just texts me and say, "I got gas for this," or whatever. We still cash our check every week, that we have done for over 10 years when we decided to get out of debt. So, I mean, but let's go through kind of the steps so that we can kind of give people a direction. And if you have questions, I'm here to help you any way I can. There's money classes out there. Ours is Crown Ministry that Pathway does. They also do the Dave Ramsey, I believe. I've not taken the Dave Ramsey. There's a pretty high cost to Dave Ramsey, where Crown Ministries is not. So, just kind of depending on, but the theory is still the same. So
Now, are we going to go through the steps that you shared, or are you going to go through the steps you took when you first started using this app?
Well, kind of the class steps. So the first step is to have at least $1,000 in savings.
Okay.
I know that sounds crazy, but there's a lot of people that don't have the $1,000 in savings. And throughout your budget, you want to maintain the $1,000 in savings. So the beauty about your budget is you can kind of come in and go out and still be able to have that $1,000.
So are you, is that $1,000, are you making sure you maintain it? I mean, just always, like, once it's in there, don't touch it. unless you absolutely have to? Is there a fail safe, but to make sure that by the end of the month, it's back up to that 1,000?
As soon as you can, get it back to the 1,000.
Okay.
Right.
So it's not
While
saying
you're
you can't-
getting out of debt. Once you
Okay.
get out of debt, that's a whole different ballgame.
Okay.
But this is just while setting up your idea of doing this. So you want to have the 1,000. You want to get your budget. And there's really two theories to a budget. There's one that is to the penny. I mean, you have your budget down to the nitty gritty penny. That stresses me out. So I lump mine in. So like
Okay.
every week for our expenses, groceries, eating out, gas, I kind of looked at all of that and I gave us a pretty good healthy amount each week. And that's what we kind of live on week to week to week to week.
Okay.
And at the end, if there's only $20 and I'm like, okay, then we're going to eat leftovers again tonight because tomorrow's the next day. And we still live this way. We don't have to live this way. We still choose to live this way. And that's why we are able to do what we're able to do.
It's really a healthy way. It's a healthy way
Yes.
of living. It's a healthy mindset.
Yes. I mean, even before we buy anything, I'm still kind of like, do I need that? Or do I just want it? Why do I want it? I mean, I'm still analyzing, doing all this and not going crazy because at some point I do want to not be the branch manager of my office. And
Right.
I don't see retiring until maybe I'm 70, but I can do loans anywhere in the world. I can be anywhere in the world.
Absolutely.
And still take care of my clients. Not that I'm going to do that a lot, but I want
You're gonna get to
thought of doing that.
Well, there's nothing wrong
So-
with that. I mean, there's always next stages of life.
Yes.
Todd has a goal to retire from practicing law, by the time he's 55.
Mhm.
So he literally has a calendar and he knows every day how many days he has left till that day. But for him at that point, there's a next step.
Right.
It's not I'm done. It's already I have a plan. He's writing a book. He's we're doing other things.
Right.
And so that's kind of how I've always looked at life is, okay, retirement is a thing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's I'm stopping working.
Right.
This is it.
You can maybe do more of your passion work versus
Absolutely.
what you needed to do to get your kids grown or, whatever that looks like, So back to the budget. So you're going to do 1,000 and then you're going to have a budget. Are you going to do it to the penny or are you going to do it, a little more loosely, but still with the same premise of putting all your bills on paper? And the goal is and I have an Excel spreadsheet for every single month because
Okay.
I have certain bills that hit quarterly or whatever. And then I can tell immediately because my paycheck fluctuates. I plug in what my paycheck is. It immediately calculates what my giving will be for the church. And now we're to the point that we're even able to give extra. So now we have our extra bucket that I have a set amount every month that goes to my extra. And then I have a list of all of the places that I give to, or if I hear someone's in need, then I'm able to help them or whatever that case may be. But that amount is set and put aside every single month as well. So my budget's built around our life and our goals but that's, we want to take a trip. We've taken several big trips to Europe that cost a lot of money to fly, room, food, everything. It's paid before we ever leave the country because those kind of trips we usually book a year out and you can budget whatever that is for 12 months, 8 months, whatever, and it's paid off before you ever leave.
Right.
Then you can enjoy that trip and then you're not coming back thinking, how the heck am I going to pay that off?
Right.
So and this is how we've lived, I would say, for a good 10 years. And I try to gauge it on the age of my cat because I don't really remember when I got out of debt, but I knew my car was paid off when someone head-on collisioned us and totaled it. And I was like, I just paid my car. I love that car. But I wanted to pay cash for the next car. And so I didn't get the same car that I had because it was more expensive. So I took a lesser expensive so I could just pay cash for it, not have a payment. And I hated that. I don't say I hated that car, but it was not my favorite car. But I drove it for 7 years. It got me from point A to point B. It served its purpose. It was reliable. It was not it was not a status thing anymore for me. And I think that's what helped me get rid of that. I didn't need a status car. And my car now is not a status. It's imperfect and everything else, but
it's a
know,
beautiful car. I know how you feel. I paid my very first car that I owned, not the one that the family car, that I got to share every now and then. But when I bought my first car, I paid $900 for it. I paid $100 a month for 9 months to our Christian counselor, family counselor, and it was an '84 Volkswagen Rabbit. And I loved this car. I actually loved this car,
right.
And I went to a high school that was predominantly wealthy, and we were not. We were, one of 7 kids. It was, half of one town and half of the other went to high school together. So I'm, parking when I was allowed to drive the 70s shag van that down in I'm parked next to Porsches and other, cars like that. It never bothered me. Like it didn't bother me. And it didn't bother me when I bought that first car either, because I bought that car.
Right.
And it was debt free on that car.
Right.
I drove that car. I moved to Florida with it. I moved to Texas with it. God help me, I had no air conditioning when I moved to Texas, but it didn't matter because I owned the vehicle and I didn't have any debt with it.
Right.
So I wasn't driving across the country with a load of debt in my trunk.
Right.
And so I feel very blessed that I was able to do that.
Right.
My next car wasn't so much. I had some debt with it.
Cash cars at any price. I mean, you can buy, there's different cars you can get at different price points.
Right.
It's a little more difficult now because of
there's not many out there
and all of this stuff going on and everything. But I mean, it shouldn't be a dilemma forever. But I mean, like we said, my grandson's going to be to the point. If he wants Paul's car, we're now looking so that we'll know what we want to get when it comes to that point. So we'll know what to have available cash wise, that we don't have to sell a stock or something that might be in a lower value and take whatever the case may be. We're already now planning for 6 months from now, because that's how long he has to have his permit. So, he can't get the car for 6 months, but we're going to be ready when that 6 months hit so that Paul has a different vehicle if that's the route we go. But that's the thing is your budget can be whatever you want it to be based on what your goals are and what you're out there, what things are costing. So you build all that in your budget, and you can, it's a fluid document. You add, you subtract, you've got bills in there, you've got your utilities, about what they run every month. That's why I have it built for 12 months, because I don't have to think about it. I don't have to increase it for July and August and September, because it's already built in there to be a little bit higher for my electric bill or my water bill.
Do you find when you're teaching these classes that is the most challenging thing for some of the students when they're taking that course, that idea of I'm budgeting for an entire year and I've never budgeted for a month? Do you find that that's like a great challenge?
It is. It's hard for people because they want what they want. They want the brand new car, or they want all this stuff. And I'm like, but is your want for all this stuff, first of all, there's a lot of psychology to your money. And it really talks about what you think about money. A lot has to do with when you're a kid. If you didn't have money when you're a kid, then you're striving to get money because you want that safety, because you didn't feel like maybe your parents were always stressed, or, there's so much behind. So you really have to do some digging. And in the class we have talks about that. I mean, I don't know. I've said before, my dad was in prison, and it always evolved around money that he took that wasn't his. And he was in prison, which then caused us not to have money because he was the breadwinner, and then divorce. I mean, it just snowballed from there. So I have a tendency to want to have money for a security, but it's at the end of the day, it's still a false sense of security. God is my only security, but I have to self-talk all the time. Go, okay, Lisa, God, I need to trust God more than my money,
Well, when you have that faith there, though, in that, that is a major mindset. I've been down to my last penny when I lived on my own, my very last penny, and had to pay the rent, and God always provided.
Yes.
And so if it now, sometimes that comes in a manner of saying, okay, God's going to provide, but he's going to show you some actions you have to take to get there. And so some of that, it all coincides
and what's the
together
lesson in that, because there's lessons. And so there's the money is talked about a lot in the Bible. And so, learning God's principles about why you work, who you work for, I mean, just giving back and, all of that. That's what's so great about the class is it's more than just money, money here, putting money there, and then, when our church campaign come and we were saying, okay, I was trying to come up with a very conservative number so I wouldn't stress over it because, I wanted not to have stress anymore. And he placed an amount on my heart and I'm like, I don't know. Okay. So then I said, all right, I'll commit to that. Well, then Pastor Rick said, and write down your commitment. And I was like, I can't write that number down, Paul. You're going to have to write that number down because I can't write it. And he wrote it. And it was a 3-year commitment.
Wow.
We did it in 1 year.
That's amazing.
I mean, it makes me want to cry every time I think about it.
Yeah, but this is why this show is going to happen for you. I don't want to blow it or put it all. I'm already putting it out there because, hey, that's how it works because we've already talked about it. But this is truly, you have such amazing confidence in the steps that you have taken and the successes that you've had from it. I mean, you don't just talk about it. You've lived this budgeting change.
But I've lived the fear. I've lived the temptations that come with different things. I mean, I lived through it and I still live through it. I mean, to this morning, still it's like God told me, help me build my kingdom. Don't worry about your kingdom. And I was like, well, that's a big one. Wow. So, that's made some changes in my thought process for the futures. What am I doing for God's kingdom, not Lisa and Paul's kingdom? Because ours can go away. It can fade away. But
well, I mean, even thinking about that,
people, we want to affect people going forward, not just our kids or our grandkids, because they may not listen to us anyway. So, I mean, whoever we can help, we want to help.
But even that in itself, you prepping to be able to and saving to give a car to each of your grandkids is a part of that, because where will that car take him? And so there's just always such a greater picture. I get goosebumps when we start talking about this stuff. It just makes me go crazy because it's the truth. And there's so many things that we do in our life we don't even realize what it is that you're doing
right
for God's kingdom. And so just a thought, where is that car going to take him?
Yeah.
And God bless every kid out on the road. Please, 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 please drive safe. That's all I ask. All right. So I squirreled you, way squirreled you. So step 1, have $1,000 in savings and maintain it. How long do you give yourself in the beginning of taking this first step to put that $1,000 back? How long do you give yourself to reach that initial goal? Quick as you can. So don't stress and go from not budgeting at all to putting $1,000 away and saying, I've got to have it done in 2 weeks.
Right. I mean, budget,
that's unrealistic.
Well, I mean, there's things you can sell. I mean,
true.
Put it for sale. If you're not using it, sell it. I mean, whatever you got to do, garage sale. I mean,
all the apps online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you can, in the meantime, look for the Snowball app.
Okay. That's where I was going to ask you too. So step 2, give me step 2. Because I there's more shows that are going to follow up with this, because this is an ongoing conversation, no doubt.
Well, you know your debt. Know what you owe.
Okay.
First of all, say the 1,000. In the meantime, build your budget and know what you owe.
Okay.
Know the balances. Know who. Put it all down. Categorize it from the least balance to the biggest balance. And then go out there and Google what's the best Snowball app for you.
Okay, so I've got a list of the best budget apps for 2022. Again, it's nothing I've rated. I'm on the Nerd Wallet.
Well, before you do that, call me, because the Excel budget that I have that I can send you will literally take everything you put into it, and then it will give you what your leftover funds are after you paid everything.
So how do you want people to contact you? What's the best way for them to contact you?
They can call me 817-233-9226, or they can email me lkeys@sfmc.com.
at FM
SF.
FSF. Hello, Service First.
Yep. Mortgage company, sfmc.com.
That's so much smaller than mine.
Well, it used to be long, but we got that one.
You got smarter.
Yeah,
I'm going to get smarter with mine too. So L Keese at sfmc.com, or you can call her at 817-233-9226.
Yes.
It's in the comments if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter. And if you're listening, of course, you can always go back and re-listen on Spreaker.com or any one of your favorite podcast platforms. Just search for JoCo Business Connections and you will find us. And of course, you can always rewatch, especially go back to the beginning of this show where we started it if you're just joining us. And watch the whole thing. I want to give you a quick rundown of what your post is. So budgeting goals for 2022. You have 10%.
So this is really the money left over.
Okay, after your budget,
except for the 10% for long-term savings. But for the most part, this is your bring home money.
Okay, you want to start with the biggest amount or the lowest amount on this list? You got the 50% for needs.
Well, let's start with the main one.
Okay.
Giving.
Okay, giving.
To me, that's giving. That's your priority.
Okay, 10% to charity. So tithing or giving to charitable organizations, which could be considered the same thing. I have different conversations with different people about tithing.
Yes.
Tithing, the Bible says, is to tithe to where you are fed by the Lord. And that means giving back or feeding who's fed you. So that could be charitable organizations. It could be the church you go to. It could be a different church. It's just up to you.
Yes.
So it's
saying, okay, God, I realize this is all from you, and I'm going to give
it back to you.
Yes,
Right.
some way, somehow.
And you can do that in any way you want.
Yes.
That is my personal opinion.
Gross, net, whatever you want it. Just pick an amount and do it. That's all I can say.
10% should go to long-term savings. So retirement accounts, IRAs, investment accounts, 401k.
Yeah, whatever you do.
We're gonna I say Lisa's gonna bring back and have some financial experts that you can talk to about that too, because you really do want to look at all of your options with your IRA funds, your 401ks, which one's going to work best for you, which ones are, there's so much to it.
There's diversity. You want diversity.
You want diversity, and you've really got to understand what you're putting your money to. And are you putting it there as an individual? Or are you putting it there as a business owner? And so there's so many levels to this conversation.
But for right now, let's just this is all personal.
Yes. 10% goes to short-term savings.
Yes.
So emergency fund.
Yes.
Placed in a savings account that will not penalize you for assessing it.
Right.
Which is most of your basic bank savings
but
accounts.
Mine is at a bank that really there's not a bank around here, so I have to kind of think, do I really want to pull that money?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's not easy.
That's a good idea.
It takes 2 or 3 days, so it takes some planning to get to. Now I have one here, just whatever, but for that, something like that you're going to let grow some.
Your big one.
You're kind of like, oh, do I really?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. 20% goes to wants. So shopping, dining out, travel, hobbies, entertainment, that shirt you liked in the window at the store. So that's all part of that 20% wants. And then 50% of your budget should go to needs. So your house payment, groceries, car payments, monthly debts. And again, you got to break down each one of those debts. So we've got 20 seconds left. Lisa, thank you so much. I can't wait to have you back to talk about this more and break it down. I may or may not be at this table with you. And be sure to reach out to her and for any of your mortgage needs at Service First Mortgage here.
We didn't
Again,
talk about that, but
I know it. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll see you back here next week. Have a great week.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, JoCo Community Radio.
News this hour from town.